Hi, this is Bruce Dickinson, and you're tuned in to Side Jams with Brian Reisman.
Greetings, everyone. This is Brian Reisman, host of Side Jams, a show where we talk to musicians about their outside passions and their hobbies. And today we have badass guitar player, musical soulmate, and otherwise, Pat Benatar, and of course, now bourbon maker, Mr. Neil Giraldo.
Hi there, Brian. Well, thank you for that intro.
Yes, I was going to say, like, maybe you're like the page to her plant. I think that was the way you guys tried to describe it when you're on CBS Sunday Morning.
Yeah, that's sort of it. Yeah, that's kind of it.
And I met you a few weeks ago. It's a couple months ago now. You had something at the power station in New
Correct.
York City. And it was fun because you come up there and you're like, so I'm going to show you how I produce John Waite's Ignition. And by the way, here's some bourbon.
Exactly right. And that's exactly the way we did it. You see, instead of vice versa. Yeah, that's right.
Obviously, very much rock and roll and bourbon are interlinked.
Correct.
And so for you, I know you started this journey, was it 2016 is when you decided you wanted to do this? You wanted to do Three Chord Bourbon. So what could you sort of give us not the Cliff's Notes, the Neil's Notes version of how that
Sure.
came
Okay,
to be?
it was May 12th. I know exact date. May 12th, 2016. And I was working on a screenplay, which was a hybrid documentary about the northeastern and mostly all of Ohio and that whole general area, even some Detroit and everything. The musicians that I grew up with, and the musicians that I loved, and they were friends of mine, and their expeditions took them to all different places, and not all of them stayed in music. If they did, it was not a number one part of their career. Basically, they went on and did other things in their life, right? So I wanted to expose them and give them highlight them and talk to them and talk about growing up in that great musical iron belt melting pot of Ohio, and so I started writing the screenplay. And a friend of mine saw me post something online, and they said, "Do you need any help?" I says, "Well, yeah. When I'm ready, I'll ask." And then I finally asked him, and he says, "Okay, why don't we get a spirits company to do some seed money, and then maybe we can get a trailer made, because it's an independent film. $150,000 would be a beautiful amount of money to get the trailer made, right?" So I says, "Why don't we start our own company?" And that was the date. That was the time. He laughed. He thought I was kidding. I wasn't kidding. And we started the company right then. It started right then. And we went all over to America, different places, Florida, Indiana, Kentucky, Tennessee, Michigan, to find a distiller and a location. That's how it began. Yeah.
So in 2016, that starts.
Yeah.
When did the first Three Chord Bourbon actually come out?
Well, I think it was about, I'm not 100% sure. Probably in about a year or less. Probably less than a year. Because at that date, I had a different name. I didn't have Three Chord Bourbon yet. I was just beginning. So we went on the search, and I had terrible names, and I couldn't come up with a name, and it was driving me nuts. And my trademark attorney says, every time you come up with a great name, it's taken, like Legato. Wow. Legato Bourbon. Sounds beautiful, right? All these names. He said, nah, taken. So I was getting really depressed. And I said, well, I don't know what to do anymore. I don't know what I want to call it. I had Steel Bending Bourbon. That's an awful name. And he says, what's going to happen here is the best name's going to come to you because you haven't thought of it yet. And then I went to sleep. I woke up first thing. I'm right in the middle of the night. I usually get up early anyway, but like 3:00, 3:30, I went, Three Chord Bourbon. That's it. And I had to wait till his office opened to let him know. And I finally got through to him, and we went through the whole procedure, and we got Three Chord Bourbon. So that was a big step. So it's probably about, we were making whiskey, as soon as we found our distiller. So as far as it hitting the streets and hitting the stores, that was probably about a year, probably. Mm-hmm.
Why is it? I've always wondered this about bourbon. When and why did it become essentially like the quintessential rock and roll drink?
Building the brand and the name has a lot to do with it. I think if it was a different name, like pick any other name, maybe bourbon wouldn't be chosen. But bourbon is like a sipper, you could sip it. It's warm. It's got a nice hug to it. It's sort of like what heats up. If you're playing music, you're heating up. And it has to do with sort of maybe that little bit of warmth. Honestly, I don't know. I'm making this stuff up right now, by the way. You gave me the question, so I'm giving you an answer. I'm making it up. So I could be 100% off base on this thing. But I don't know why it was that. I gravitated towards bourbon because I love the idea of sipping and conversation and hanging around because I mean, you could do shots. I mean, there's nothing wrong with how anybody wants to drink or do whatever they want to do.
Yeah.
I totally get it, but it's not me. I don't do shots. I've never done them. I'm all about getting some whiskey, sipping it, enjoying that moment, respecting the moment, playing music and sipping and pulling strings, or playing piano. That's kind of what I do.
I like a good old fashioned. I've realized that
Yes.
I've grown. I got into like, Jack Daniels and then Jim Beam and then a lot of different bourbons like Bullet, Maker's Mark, whatever else. But the interesting thing is that when I got into cocktails too, and anytime I'd be on a date with someone who had wine, they'd bring her the martini and me the wine. I'm like, no, that martini's for me. And
Yeah.
and the amount of alcohol in those drinks is actually much higher than you're going to get in beer and anything else. But
Sure.
I've gotten so tired of weak mixed drinks when I go out because some
Correct.
places it's like you're paying for the real estate. If it's a nice view, it's a nice hotel, you're not paying for the drink.
No, you're not.
In old fashioned, you can't generally fuck up, except I grew up outside of Boston. I go home sometimes and they put soda water in it. I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
It's simple syrup. That's it. But generally, you can't screw it up.
Well, you could screw it up. People could screw up anything. Let's
Well,
make
okay.
that clear. Okay.
Luckily, I've had too many
But
of those experiences.
yeah, but if you get it neat, you're in good shape. The other thing too is, we talk about if you're going to drink it neat, and maybe you enjoy that, maybe you don't. But what we like to do is splash some water on it. We call it the blessing. We just take the water, boom, boom, splash it, opens it up a little bit. So I mean, that's the best way you can actually get the true flavor of the whiskey. In other words, and I mentioned this to people too that maybe are not like avid drinkers or whatever, is it goes great with food. If you're sipping bourbon and having cheese and crackers, or if you like salami and you're Italian, or pepperoni and you're looking for hearty meats and stuff like that, bourbon is phenomenal. And vegetables, it even goes good with artichokes. I know a lot of stuff don't, but it does. So
Well, this is good to know.
especially Three Chord Bourbon. Let's make sure that's clear. Three Chord Bourbon goes great with everything.
Well, you started from the way I look in the timeline, you start with a lot of limited edition stuff, and it was bands like Dinosaur Jr., the Allman Brothers, Blackstone Cherry. But then you go kind of on the heavier hard rock metal side, like Theory of a Dead Man, Under Oath, Hailstorm, who I just saw recently. We were talking backstage. I was mentioning bourbon, like, we have a bourbon. I'm like, yes, I know you do. I met Neil recently.
Yeah, that's right.
And how did you decide to pair up with each of those different groups? Was there an edict from each group? How did you decide
No,
to work on those collaborations?
there's no genre pointing for music. It's like whether you're a blues artist, R&B, rock, it didn't matter, or on the metal side, heavier. They discovered us, and we reached out to some folks, and it's the power of rumors and words. If you put a word out there, other people pick up. They go, "Wow, I like bourbon. I'd like to get a hold of them." And if it's music based, like we are, I'm trying to create a family, a musical family. And when you have a name like Three Chord Bourbon, you're talking music, right? So, and it's an honor to have all those bands. They're all great. They, no matter what category they're in or what level they're at, they're doing what they feel, and what they feel is right. And truth is truth. That's the best thing about truth, is that you can't lie if you're telling the truth. So, and we only work with bands and artists that we feel are representative of the brand. So, and they're all fantastic.
When I was talking to the Hailstorm guys, I mean, they like their bourbon, they're drinkers. So it's good to get the band's approval on it, because there are a lot of celebrity bourbons out there. There's a lot of celebrity liquor. I mean, the one name that always stands out is Sammy Hagar, because he really loves his tequila and he turned that into an amazing business.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if you ever talked to him.
Sure, he's a good friend. I know Sammy well. Yeah.
Did he give you any advice actually on this when you were starting Three Chord Bourbon as to what you should do, or
No,
like steps you take?
No, I never even talked to him about that. I talked to him about music. I mean, I did when I worked with Rick Springfield, did Jesse's Girl. I also did a song for Rick. Also, I've done Everything for You, which was written by Sammy. So
Yeah.
I've known Sammy for thousands of years. And some things you just we talk about music and jets and life and stuff. We don't always get to whiskey and spirits. But he's a great guy, and he did phenomenal with his tequila. That's great, because it's a totally different model. It's about having a blast. Tequila does something to your brain. When it gets in your blood, it does crazy stuff to you, right? Different than bourbon.
So I mean, you're sourcing different bourbons when you're doing this, like you're mixing, you sort of source different types of things, and
like Scottish whiskey, like the original. Well, all Scottish, they use the best the best whiskeys they can find to make certain blends, and we do that, and Ari does that. We also grow our own. We also have our own whiskeys that are living and growing and breathing and doing their thing too. So yeah, it's a whole process. It's exciting. I mean, like I said, I learn something new every day. So in the end, what you're trying to get is a great taste profile and an image that people feel like they connect and they're welcome. We want to welcome people. If you connect with us, we want to be your friend. We want to be your friend. We want to help you.
You had one of the new bourbons. You had this Strange collab, and we had the Strange
Right.
Manhattan, which was cool. I mean, I liked. It was interesting because you have this whole new line now. You have Hard Press, which is straight bourbon whiskey. You have Riot, which is double blended bond of rye whiskeys. Triple Wood, which I guess is finished with toasted French and American oak. That sounds exotic.
Right.
And
Yeah.
this and the one I liked, Strange Collab, was finished in Pinot Noir casks,
Correct.
which gives it, I guess, gives it's like a slightly or sweeter.
Well, no, we don't
taste,
use
you
the
think?
word sweet usually. It has an enhancement of the grape of a Pinot Noir grape. So
Mm.
it's subtle. All these things are subtle. It's really important. It's the same as music. You can go overboard, like put too much reverb on something, or you can put too much high end and EQ on things. You got to be subtle, and that's the thing that we do. It's subtle changes, and then we may push it all the way we can, like I do in music, go as far as you can go, and then you wind it back, and then there's always a place you're going to end up. Another thing I will mention is that there's a lot of celebrity brands and stuff like that. I never considered my spirits company a celebrity brand because I just consider myself a grateful, humbled musician and guitar, piano player, and a songwriter, and I'm just happy to do that. That's nothing about the celebrity thing that I want to get involved with. And truthfully, it's the whiskey. You're drinking the whiskey. I mean, that's what should be the star. I mean, you're just like the conduit for it. I mean, the star is the whiskey. So if you enjoy it, then it's working, right?
Went to the Hailstorm show. I was there because I was interviewing the front of house man and production manager for Volbeat, this guy Denny Miller. And we were talking about bourbon because he likes bourbon. And I said, oh, and I'm going to talk to Neil Giraldo soon. He's got Three Chord Bourbon. He's like, oh, I like that bourbon. I didn't realize he did that. Like he had no clue. And I'm like, oh, he'll be happy to. You'll probably be happy to know that because he's not thinking, oh, I'm drinking Neil's bourbon. I'm just drinking this bourbon. This good bourbon.
Of course, yeah. I don't care about any of that. As people love it, that's all I care about. Doesn't matter to me.
Well, you were talking about the sipping aspect of it,
Mm-hmm.
and I've noticed that like the proof on some of, I think a lot of your offerings is in the 90 to 100 area, where there are some people who might push it up to 115, 120, and it seems like you want to. Again, you said you wanted to push it up to a certain level, and then bring it back a bit, so it's not.
We're tipping into the higher numbers.
Are you?
They're going up. Listen, if it retains the taste and the composition of what we're trying to achieve,
Yeah.
great. We're not trying to put it on a scale and say, okay, we have to be 120, we have to be here. No, if it tastes great. Our initial offering, which was the blended when we first came out,
Right.
and we had all these other expressions, people were going back to the blended saying, wow, we love that blended. We don't care if it's lower proof. We tried going up with that blended when we first started, and it took away the flavor and it took away the beauty of what that was particular one was supposed to be. So we don't use that as any kind of barometers to make in our whiskey.
So what have you learned actually in this whole process of making bourbon? Because I mean, you obviously have a vision, just like you have a musical vision. You have a very clear vision of what you want this to be. So what have you learned along the way to help you achieve that vision?
Every day I learn something new. I mean, when I first started, I thought I knew some stuff. I didn't know anything. It really is a learning curve. My whiskey maker, Ari Sussman, I learned something new from him every day. And then he learned something about music from me every day. That's our switchback, him and I, right? So I just learned that the most important thing, even the big, Jim Beam in the beginning, he basically said, if it's good and you like it, doesn't matter what it is, then you like it. It's great, right? So we're just trying to make whiskey and spirits that people are going to be able to enjoy and like. And what I learned is that people can sense, just like with music, they can sense if there's no honesty to it. They can sense a lot of different emotions, right? So we're just trying to be straight up transparent. You got a question, we can answer it. We're not trying to eyebrow anybody and say, we're the best and nobody else is any good or whatever. Nah, there's room for everybody. It doesn't matter.
Very clearly there is the music connection, and I noticed with the marketing of the latest line, they
Yep.
look like Blue Note album covers, but they're rock people. They kind of like that sort of.
Not all rock people. Guitar Shorty's on there.
Then he's on the.
Cordell Jackson too. Cordell Jackson, I think she's on there too.
So who do you have in the different covers? Because we have Hard Pressed, we have Riot, we have Triplewood, and we have Strange Collab. And I got to look here on the
I
site.
think there's 5. There may be 5, and then you can see who's on Guitar Shorty's upside down.
Yeah, there's 4 that are shown on the website right now.
Oh,
because I thought there were 5 too when I went there.
Yeah, I think we have a new one coming out. But you'll see our blues, our rhythm and blues people. Guitar Shorty should be in there. He's upside down.
Yes, the Triplewood one, and then there's a female rock. It looks female rock band. It could be a punk band for Riot.
Right.
And it looks like there's a rock or blues guitar player on Strange Collab. And I love that there's the grandmother rocking out on Hard Pressed.
Yeah, Brian, it's me on Strange Collab, by the way.
That is you. Oh wow. You know what? Your head is up. That's why your head is back. Yeah. It's funny. It's a very Neil Neil pose.
No, from 1978. I mean,
well, that's okay. That's why.
That's why. I mean, I couldn't do that now.
Well, no, but it's funny though is that you're doing like I said, they look like they're old photos. They could be newer artists, but it has that kind of older quality of like all those Blue Note covers, which is interesting. And it's black and a singular color, like black and white, and then either blue or orange. So you're definitely curating a very specific experience here.
Yeah, we're going to vinyl. We're representing music on various other different levels, right? And yeah, that's what we're going for. That's our.
So going for vinyl as far as I think you mentioned this briefly.
Well, because they look like vinyl records, the covers, the jackets, right? That's kind of, but also the iconic, the feel you get when you see an electric picture like that. Those are moments caught in time. Those are moments that could never be gotten again. And luckily, like the picture that was taken of me, I didn't even know that existed. I only saw it probably 10 years ago.
I've never seen that photo.
Like nobody has. This guy took it. I go, how did you actually, capture that? That was a brilliant moment you did. It was him. He did it. I was there, but it was like he captured that moment. So that's the beauty of music in that moment when it's live and you're in that, or you're in a studio and you capture that great take. There's nothing like it.
I mean, making bourbon is a much slower process, I think, than making music overall. I think, but you're trying to.
Sort of and sort of not. There's a lot of similarities. Synergy is pretty strong. I mean, it takes a long time to finish a song. You write it, you got inspiration, you write it, you arrange it, you play it, produce it, mix it, remix it, master it. Bourbon too, it lives in barrels, and does all that crazy stuff too. So
it's funny because you talk about notes in music, right? And you're always, and like if I'll be listening and maybe trying to identify certain types of notes or patterns that you're playing, arpeggios. And then, of course, people talk about notes of different tastes in liquor or wine. Like, oh, there's notes of grape in here or notes of maple and this and that. It's just funny how like those two just coincidentally come together.
Yeah, the word note goes both ways. I honestly, when I see people come up with notes, even my whiskey maker, I don't get it. I can't pick those notes out. So they do. And that's cool. That's cool. That's a cool thing.
So how did Ari come into your life and how does that collaboration work?
Well, when we went to Florida and in Kentucky and Tennessee and Indiana, all these places, we went to Michigan, which is really weird because a good friend of mine lived there. Mm-hmm. And we went there and he was in Michigan and he was talking about using organic, what he was doing with the mash after he was done working with it and using it for the environment and everything. I was like, I like all this stuff you're talking about. And we just hit it off, him and I mean, he understood the synergy of music and whiskey, and he's eager to learn the music part of it, and he's a music lover. And I was eager to learn the distilling part of it, and he's a great distiller, whiskey maker. So it was just one of those things. It's the same thing when you go to put a band together. You can audition 1,000 drummers, but the one guy that comes in and he sort of gets it, or she sort of gets it. You just know, right? You just know. It's like a universal thing. in order to be a musician, you have to go to the pioneers and learn from them. So you have to put in all your time there. Does the whiskey makers have to put all their time in making whiskey, right? And then it comes down to just the right fit, just kind of works. And that's how it worked with Ari and my whole team. Let's say my whole team, the Nanula family, all the people that work, Ryan Gill, everybody, Tony DeYoung, all my great people, men and women, they're phenomenal. So
Now you have a distillery based in, where is it? Which state is it based?
Michigan and New York.
Michigan and New York. Okay.
Yeah.
And you live in LA.
In LA. Yeah.
Yeah. So you fly around a lot then. You're traveling.
I do all the time. Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah.
So are there any favorite bourbon based cocktails that you like?
I like an old fashioned. I think that's really good. But I'm a neat guy. I always liked it neat because I like sipping and I like the with food. I love to eat and I love to drink and sip, right? And excuse me, and then to engage in conversation, or you're playing an instrument, you're playing piano or guitar, and hey, I'm gonna take a little sip, put it on top of the amp, and you play a little more. I like that. That feels good to me.
Well, what I like about hearing about you and Pat is, unlike a lot of the rock stories I've heard, we don't hear these crazy stories about partying like mad and going through all the addiction stages. It's like you guys, your story, you're very bonded. So It's really been a lot about music and taking on the music industry in a lot of cases too.
Yeah, it always comes down to music. I mean, listen, in the younger days, I drank a lot more, smoked a lot. I did that, but never to the place of being drunk. I mean, I never wanted to be there. You have to be focused. I mean, you really do in order to write, to play your instrument. You got to learn, right? I mean, you can get off and relax afterwards, but you got to pay attention. It's important.
Well, it's interesting too now as they're talking about the fact that a lot of Gen Zers in particular are not drinking as much.
Right.
I think some younger millennials too, I'm a Gen X or older Gen Xer, and I mean I've noticed that there's definitely a lot of people. There's still some people my age in their 50s who are trying to party like they're 25. I'm like, you know what? That's great, write a show, but I don't need to get plastered to enjoy the show.
Of course, everything goes and rolls. Everything changes. Just like the real estate market, just like anything, music, it all changes. So they'll go through a little bit of like, oh, they're not going to drink, or they're going to drink something different, or they're going to try this, or whatever. It's all cycles. Listen, product songs that are great live forever. Whiskey that's great, or any cocktail that's spirit that's made great, will last forever. It's just how it feels in those times. Just whatever happens, right?
What's the long-term goal for this? Like, what other plans or ideas do you have for Three Chord Bourbon?
Oh, just keep expanding. Just try different expressions, put our messaging all through the United States and other countries as well, and continue to build on our family, the musical family. Maybe have 3 chord stages at some point, where we can have multiple bands and artists that are on the 3 chord bourbon, brand, have them come and perform, and still continue to do all the programs to help musicians and healthcare and all the other things that we could do for the musicians and the community of music. We've been doing 3 chord stages, but I'm talking more on a larger level, like a 10,000 seat or 9,000, and make that a 3 chord bourbon stage,
Oh, wow.
sponsored by that. And just have different people come in, but also our bands that are doing other stuff, have them come and play a night there. Different people. Just keep expanding.
Well, it's all about branding, but the weird thing to me is, in this age of social media and influencers, as I'm sure you've come up against as well,
sure.
Everyone's like, I'm a brand. I'm like, you're not a brand. Like, you can create a brand, but I don't consider a person to be a brand.
Correct.
We've entered this very weird stage where, so many pop stars now particularly put their names on everything.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't feel like they're so much about the music anymore. It feels like, and it's interesting how you don't necessarily push your name out fully on this either. Like a lot of people know, but there's some people obviously like Denny had no clue. They just checked it out and they were cool with it. It seems like you kind of do want to keep it lower key so you can focus on music separately, even though there's a kind of interconnecting story here.
Right. But I don't press for any of that. Like I said, I like to build families and teams. Who said this? It was it's an old saying. It goes back maybe 100 years. You'd be surprised what you could accomplish if you don't care about who gets the credit. That's how I live my life musically and everything else. Just do the work, do a great job. You don't care about who gets the credit. You'll find out that most narcissists out there will claim credit for everything. So uh, I just let them be able to claim what they want, leave it to them. Give them a shovel, let them dig.
Seems like you like to create. You're into team building. You're into
Yeah.
that, and
Yes,
you've had a
sir.
musical family for years, and now you have
Correct.
this.
Correct. Every band that you put together is a family. You work together, and you see where you get divorces in those families. Where certain band members won't play with the other one, and they get whatever, right? And that's just a lot of that is ego based. Things like that happen, and maybe just grow and you evolve and you grow out of it. But I'm a believer in families, in bands, yeah, and musicians. Work. It's great to it's just it's a creative process. So why not enjoy yourself with a bunch of other folks that are doing the same kind of thing? When you collaborate, when you write a song with someone, you're collaborating with them. When you're playing in the band, you're collaborating. If you're an engineer, producer, you're collaborating with the artist that's in the studio. So it's fun. I mean, if I hated it, I wouldn't been I would have never been doing it for the last 65 years, whatever the heck it is.